Afternoon, everybody. Today is August the 9th and it's 2023. I'm going to share a prophetic dream I had with you, but I had this dream, I'm going to say ballpark 2 months ago, maybe a little less. It's important you know that whatsoever God is to me, He's going to do to the church, and that means corporately, and it also means individually. So listen to the dream. I'll give you the whole dream, then I'll go through and tell you what I know about the dream. And then I'll go through and tell you how this might relate, this will relate to you. For those of you who are looking for the promise of God that He spoke over you, this is an important dream. So anyway, this was the dream. I saw the dream not from my own eyes, and whenever I see myself in my dream doing something, I know that God is showing me what He sees, So I see myself and I'm walking, and I don't walk very far, and I purchase a lottery ticket from a convenience store. And I'm not going to give you the interpretation of what I see in this, but I'm going to tell you the whole dream first. So I purchased this ticket. I look at the ticket and I see that, on the back of a ticket where you're supposed to sign your name, it's a bearer instrument. So whoever signed is the person who can cash it. On the back, it's actually says either for family or the family. It's already written on the ticket before I ever purchased it. So when I see that, I'm like, well, I wonder if they're going to let me cash this ticket, because it's already marked for family or the family. I don't remember which one it was. And I also noticed as I walk away in the dream, after I purchased the ticket and I start to walk away, I have my hand down by my side, and because my back's to me and I'm walking away, I can see the back of the lottery ticket. And the back of the lottery ticket, where you'll see fine print on the back giving you, details of the game, and the lines where you can sign it and put your address and so forth and so on. These lines that were there are actually spread wide apart in the dream. And that's not how they are in real life. In real life, it's small print and it's very, very tight lines, that you're writing on. But in this dream, I could see that the lines were spread far apart. There was at least 2 lines. And like I said, I walked away, and that was the end of the dream. So let me tell you what I know about this dream. I see that I'm walking, and I walk a short distance to purchasing this ticket. Now, the short distance represents the amount of time that has to pass before this thing happens, where I purchased the ticket. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, let me catch you up to speed a little bit. God told me a long time ago, when I was doing a Bible study, like 26 years ago now, I was doing this Bible study on Matthew, 6:33, I think, and it says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all else will be added unto you. And I was trying to understand the concept of righteousness. What is His righteousness? That's what I was studying. And as I was going through the night, I would do this for nights as I just flipped through the Bible and the concordance. It was before I was using computers. And I would look up these different verses that related to righteousness. And I would write them down, every single one of them, on this piece of paper. And then I would lay that loose leaf piece of paper at the top, and I would start another piece of paper, filling them with these verses. And as I was doing this one night, I felt the Lord walk up behind me, and I heard Him say, I'm going to give you the lottery. And I thought, that's not God, that's the devil. And I was kind of bound up in my religion. I didn't really understand the lottery. I didn't know about casting of lots throughout Scripture. I didn't know that the root of the word lottery is lot. I didn't know that the Lord maintains your lot. I didn't know that the promised land was divided by lot, and God had commanded them to do it in that way. I didn't know that there are many different types of lotteries. I mean, just being born into a particular nation is a lottery in a sense, that you were just drafted into. anyway, I could go on and on, but I'm not going to. So, when the Lord told me that at first, like I said, I dismissed it and thought it's not God. And I just went about my business, continuing writing these things out. And the next night or the night after, I can't remember, the same thing happened. The Lord showed up in the same way, just walked up behind me. I could feel his presence. He said the same thing. And I was going to dismiss it, and then I stopped and thought, if this is God, you don't want to dismiss it. You want to make sure that it's God or not. And I know scripturally that we can test, and we're actually commanded to test every spirit. And so I thought, okay, God, you knew that I'd be here doing this when, I heard this word, and you would know what I would do next, And so I said, okay, I've got this stack of papers here that I've been writing down every single one of these verses in the Bible that pertain to this other verse that I'm studying out. And so I'm going to flip over this stack of papers. And if the very first letter that I see at the very top of the very first line is the letter A, then yes, you're talking to me. And if it's any other letter, then you're not speaking to me. And that'll be my fleece, and I'll know whether or not this is you. And so I grab the paper, and I start to turn, I stop, and I say, wait a minute. I'm not talking about the first thing that I would write, which would be the chapter and verse. I'm talking about the actual verse. So I take the paper, and I flip them over, and the actual chapter and verse is Acts, and the actual sentence, the very first letter, is A, because it's the word and or as. I think it was and. Anyway, I knew immediately, okay, this is God. He's telling me something. And it's been 26 years since then. I mean, I've been growing from there, because right after he told me that, I went out and bought a lottery ticket and didn't win. And I was very upset. I'm like, God, you promised me something and it didn't happen, and you're a liar. And that's kind of where I was spiritually at that time. And the Lord grew me from that point on, and, started to teach me, look, I tell you something doesn't mean I tell you it's going to happen today. I just told you I'm going to do this thing. And he starts to develop you as you go along. And some years later, he told me, as I was watching this other gentleman, what was his name? Was it Edward? Was it David Lee Edwards? Something like that. Anyway, this guy had won this lottery, and I was watching it on the news. He did before I was going to work or something, I remember. And I was watching this guy giving his interview. And as I'm watching this, the Lord speaks to me in that moment. And he says, that one, the biggest one. And I had a hard time with that, because for many reasons. One, at that time, I lived in the state of Texas, and that particular lottery wasn't even played in the state of Texas way back then. Like I said, this was 20-some years ago. And then he's saying the biggest one. I mean, that guy just won a huge one. I mean, it takes some serious faith to believe for the biggest one. So I kind of kept that one to myself and just told my wife about the other part. Said that God says it's going to be that one, which he didn't say that. He said that one, the biggest one. You got to be careful with God's word. When he speaks a word to you, he is being precise. What he said was chosen, and you need to respect it, the way that he gave it to you. So why didn't he say it? Because the particular one that I was watching was the Powerball. Why did God not say the Powerball, the biggest Powerball, or something like that? He didn't. He said that one, the biggest one. That's a weird way of saying that. You didn't have to say it like that. You left some ambiguity in there, okay? Now, over time, all these lotteries were going to change how they're being played. The statistics are going to change based on the rule changes that they make and so forth and so on. And they've all changed, right? Anyway, over time, the Powerball, the one that I watched this guy win, ended up being available in the state of Texas. However, I would then move to another state, in the state of Arkansas, that had no lottery whatsoever. That was another bit of a rough point in my life where I'm wondering, am I stepping outside of God's will? Am I following where I'm supposed to be going? I'm going seems to be the opposite direction of what he told me. Anyway, over time, Arkansas also started the lottery here, and they ended up with the Mega Millions as well as Powerball. So anyway, as time went on, God kept showing me new things, new information, and altering, not changing what he said, but giving me more information. And so I knew things that I didn't know before, and that would alter how I would end up being, how I would end up preparing, okay? So this is important because in this dream where I'm walking a short distance, I have already walked 26, years, but I'm seeing the end of this thing, the finish line, if you will, the fulfillment of His word, where I see myself buying a ticket. Well, I know that I don't buy lottery tickets every week. I only buy a ticket when it's the biggest one. And there's multiple ways to interpret the biggest one. So I have some ambiguity in that myself, but basically, if I see myself in a dream, God showing me buying a ticket, then I know it's going to be the biggest one, and then I'm buying. And but here's another thing that's interesting: when the ticket's given to me, and I see that it's already got something written on it, this is God telling me and you. Hang on a minute, I'll get to that. That this isn't just for me, and it's not even just for the donations that I'm going to be giving out to various different things. I won't talk about that because you're not supposed to do that to be seen by others. But there's another element here, and God is saying, I want you to take care of your family. Just like Joseph, okay? Doesn't mean you have to take the lottery, divide it by the number of people you have in your family, and give them all an equal portion. That's not what he's saying. But you are responsible taking care of your family. That's what the Lord is putting on you. And the way I kind of understood it in the dream was that God had already written this out before you had ever gotten there. He had already knew He was going to provide this aid to your family, or this breakthrough, or however you want to word it, for your family. You just happen to be, and in this case, I just happen to be the individual within the family line that He called out and said, this person here will walk that walk. They will pick up the ticket, and they will do what I've asked them to do, which is take care of their family, So that's basically what the Lord was showing me. And that's when He showed me the lines spread out abnormally in the dream. Pay attention to anything that's odd in the dream. It's a message. In this particular case, I already had a list of people in my family that I was going to help, to try to benefit, right? But by God showing me the lines are spread apart further, then I knew as soon as I woke up, my list of people I'm going to help, it doesn't encompass enough people. I need to expand my view, who I'm looking at within to benefit. And by seeing multiple lines, I knew it's multiple generations as well. So this is what God is showing me, and He's telling me this is coming. Now you'll notice He didn't show me which. Like, I didn't see the front of the ticket. So I still don't know. Are we talking Powerball? Are we talking Mega Millions? I'm not 100% clear on that. There's been some change and some ambiguity in that you could interpret different ways. So all the thing I'm being shown is, look for this thing to happen. Now, I don't know how we get to the happening. I just know it's going to happen. It's going to show up. I'm going to walk into it. And that's what's about to happen. That's why God showed it to me. But it also affects you, because each of you have your own lottery. Some of you will be a literal lottery, and some of you, it won't be literal. It'll be another type of lottery, right? Maybe you just happen to be the heir of something. You won the lottery of being the right in the dynasty, right person born first, or whatever the rules are for your particular lottery to have it, right? Maybe you're going to be the person that goes out, waves your metal detector around, and you just happen to stumble upon, you won a lottery of finding a hidden treasure that other people overlooked, never saw. Maybe they went by it repeatedly and it was never found by them, but God revealed it to you. God gave it to you. And so that's what is happening here. That's what a lot of this is going to be happening in the church. You're going to hear lots of stories of people who had these breakthrough moments in this kind of a way. And it's important to note that God is also going to be, many of you, I would expect your heart to be moved in a way by the Lord to help your family in whatever way he determines that to be done. You'll know, He'll tell you your particular details, but that's where we're at, and nothing's changed. And you can say, Christian, I don't see where this is going to come from. You don't have to. God didn't show me that information. He just showed me this is the part, and this is what I want you to do with it when it happens. And he's preparing you for that. And so that's what you fixate on. That's what you focus on. You say, I don't care what comes left or right. I just focus on what God told me and walk in faith, not by sight. Just want to share that with you. God bless. Take care. Also, if you don't mind sharing this video, if you feel led to do so, and give me a like. I'm trying to get enough views that I can actually turn on my, what do you call it, the pay function on YouTube, where YouTube will actually pay me for the videos I make. And that's it. God bless. Take care. See you in the next one.